No matter how many times I try to put this video together and find the words to pretty much put it together, I think I've done it. I think I've settled on what I want to play for 3.25. 3.25 is literally 24 hours away, or some number of hours away from when I decided to record this. But I've spent the last 2 days pretty much playing Poison Concoction of Bouncing on an assassin, and it has been absolutely crazy and out of this world. The first thing you're going to say is, why the heck are you playing assassin? What is going on? Why are we not playing Pathfinder? And well, a couple of things. One, this is your disclaimer of why I'm doing things, and two, we're just kind of go into it. First and foremost, I want to play Assassin because Assassin offers me a really easy way to get crit cap because I want to play with Perfect Agony. Perfect Agony in 3.25 is being redone and reworded to say damage over time multipliers and some stuff and some hootenannies, and I don't understand how it fully works, but it pretty much just scales your crit multi to the moon. It makes you do a whole lot of damage, and you know, damage over time multiplier for elements is equal to your critical strength multiplier. So your critical strikes deal no extra damage. Your non-critical strikes can, you know, add elements, and pretty much what it means is when I throw my Poison Concoction of Bouncing and it hits, it has to crit. If it crits, it applies poison, and that poison can be scaled with critical strength multiplier, which becomes a lot easier to scale than damage over time multiplier. In POB and through some testing and working some numbers and stuff, it really looks like Assassin is a really easy way to get to dot cap with, you know, little gear. And I played it and it was fun, and it really just crushed the campaign, and overall it was fantastic. Now I have an entire POB, and before I really get into it, I'm going to say a couple of things. One, I know I'm swapping off of LA Head of the Spectrum, and I want to try this, and I really want to play this. Two, this suits all of the needs of what I want to do. I want to play a mapping character. I'm not interested in bossing. I don't want to boss. I'll be able to get my 2 stones, maybe 3 and 4 with this setup if I'm feeling adventurous. I might actually try to 3 and 4 stone myself with this build. This build has done and performed beyond just amazing and fantastic and wonderful. It is going to take a little bit of finessing if you're going to start it and you're going to copy it. I have included step-by-step instructions if you choose to copy it. These step-by-step instructions are mostly for me because I'm an airhead and I'm going to need my handheld. And honestly, I wouldn't be here and this wouldn't exist without the help of my wonderful Twitch chat, my buddy Blossom, and a few other people. I've actually included them here, and a big shout out to them. Also, I watched a video of Jung do a 4-stone with it, and it looked insane. I really didn't watch or look at his POB or what anything, but I pretty much just watched him crush things with it, and it looked great. So big shout out to Jung, and you know, thanks for like putting this out there. So I like saw it and looked at it and peeked at it and was like, I want to play that. And then I worked with the community and we put this together. This build, we'll go back into the POB in a second. This build I played in solo self-found. I did a 2-stone run. It took me, I think it was like 12 or 13 hours to do it. If I type my /played right now, my /played is 18 hours. 4 of those hours were spent in labs hunting down Poison Concoction of Bouncing. Poison Concoction of Bouncing was the hardest, most tedious thing to obtain out of labs ever, and I'm never, bro, I don't know how you SSF guys do it, bro. I'm buying this thing on trade. I will be live searching this and buying this as soon as it's available. I never want to do labs again for an alt quality gem ever. But overall, the build plays really good. It plays really well. I know I said I have 18 hours. 4 of those were spent in labs. 2 of those were spent inside of POB and in the game. So about 12 and a half hours to get 2 stones. My Atlas, relatively not too bad. 47 maps completed for 2 Voidstones. And, you know, we pretty much got 1, 2, 3, 4 favorite map slots. I was not able to unlock the second Atlas tree in this run, which I thought was fine, but I did the typical Blight Atlas that I talked about in my video. If you haven't seen my video, I have a video that I just released about this Atlas tree and the progression that it took and how I did all this and why I'm taking the nodes the way that I'm taking them. But overall, Poison Concoction of Bouncing plays really well. It just, you throw a Poison Concoction and it just bounces all over the screen and it pretty much hits the whole screen. The only downside to this build is it is a dot build. So when I go attack things, it is going to need to dot them. Dots take time to tick. Ticking is really annoying. Some people like it, some people don't like it. And overall, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. The build has been able to do and handle a lot of really cool map modifiers. It has pretty good sustain in life. It's able to do a whole lot of wild things. And overall, I really liked it. In my testing, I found a pair of Tanuahis. I do plan on league setting these. These are in the early game description of the POB. These usually, fingers crossed, aren't too expensive, so when I found them, I kept them on. The rest of the gear is really bad. The Tanuahis have a flame dash in it, a faster attacks, and a shield charge. The ring is really bad. The helmet is not good. The helmet had the Peacock of Bouncing, GMP, Greater Volley, Unbound Elements. The armor was bad. It wasn't even socketed. It only had Withering Steppe and Despair. The boots, movement, speed, life. The boots were like okay in the prefixes. The suffixes were bad. This was Herald of Agony, which we aren't actually even using. Blood Rage, cast my damage taken, Steel Skin. And then the shield just kind of did shield things. And this was Haste, Precision, and Grace. The belt was a stat stick. As far as the Ascendancy and stuff goes, you see we're Assassin. I messed around with the tree a little bit. I have refined the tree in the POB. But playing in an SSF environment, trying to test and mimic a real world environment caused me to have to do a couple of really interesting things and made it all set up. Now we're gonna hop in this map. I'm gonna show you how this works, but before I do that, I'm gonna explain one thing really quick. Poison, Concoction, and Bouncing bounces all around the screen. The number of bounces are equal to the number of chains that your character has. 11 chains, 11 bounces, and it uses 8 flash charges. Because we're playing Assassin and because we crit, we gain flash charges back really fast. It is not too difficult to gain flash charges, but we'll go over the tree, how it all works, everything you need to know. When I built this in SSF, before I refined the tree with the help of Blossom and everybody, I like messed this up horribly. This tree is not refined. This SSF run is pretty much just like bare bones, barely put together. And you'll see it does, like, this is going to be a tier 16 map. And you saw right there, we took a hit. We took a hit right away. Didn't immediately die. And you can see the damage in itself is relatively good. I do have the Eater and Exarch. I will link them in the description down below so that you guys can take a look at and watch how they were done. One of the things I would like to have, wish I had in this, was phasing at some point, but you see the damage in itself is really not that bad. Doing a map in itself ended up going fairly well. Now this map, has avoid elements, which doesn't affect us. Monsters have increased accuracy. Monsters hits ignite. We have no spell suppression. And, you know, we're able to just like kind of like work our way through it without a whole lot of problems. You see, we went to go take a hit there. We almost died and we leached it right back up. One of the biggest things that's really cool about Poison, Concoction, and Bouncing is you see it while I'm playing it. It can bounce its life all around. Because Peacock of Bouncing is bouncing and hitting so many times so fast, and we're throwing so many vials that are bouncing, one of our biggest defensive layers is leech and life gained on hit and instant leech. So like, just like how like other classes are doing it, we're really taking advantage of like leech and recovery. Our defenses, you know, with better gear will get better. We will be able to take slightly better hits. We'll have slightly better recovery, but this is built to be a softcore mapper. You know, we're looking to open up maps, blitz maps as fast as possible, and just kind of go next. You know, with also like Flask and stuff and everything running smoothly, it'll be really good. Poison, Concoctions of Bouncing's damage scales off of our life blast. So if you are going to play this and you are thinking about playing this, you need to make sure that you keep up to date with your life blast. Your life blast is going to be one of your biggest sources of damage, especially in the campaign, so you're going to want to make sure that you spend the time to upgrade it and get it rolling. You can see on a 4-link with very terrible gear, we're killing and clearing packs of mobs relatively easily. We dot them up, we keep on moving, and, you know, all is really good. This version of SSF was not utilizing pretty much anything that's going to make the build good. We weren't using Perfect Agony. We didn't really have good gear. We were on a pretty bum 4-link, and overall, you know, we were missing quality. We're missing better Flask. We're missing quality on our Flask, and there's a lot of, just in this test, there's a lot of room for improvement. And you can see right away, you know, we could stand there and take relatively decent hits on our starter with pretty much no gear at all, and it ends up working out really well. I'm kind of hoping I can find the map boss in the next couple of seconds, because I feel like I've been yapping for so long, and people are going to be like, oh my God, get to the POB, explain how things work. And I'm like, you got it, Chief. I'm going to put that there because I know from yapping, I'm going to end up dying. And we're going to try really hard to not die. I mean, it should be relatively easy to not die. I mean, the character ended up being like way better than I thought it was going to be. It did die a bunch because I'm an idiot. But I mean, like, that's fine. And you can see as soon as we start stacking up poisons on the boss, we get some withers going, we press our buttons, he just starts falling over, and it's not that bad. You know, we make sure we give him a little curse, a little smoochy with a little curse on, you know, and everything just kind of goes. All right, any day now. The only bad side, like I had mentioned, is it is a dot build. We do have to scale our dots. We do have to get our dots rolling, and that can take a little bit of time and becomes, you know, for some people annoying. For others, they don't mind. I know I personally don't mind, and I know that this can hit dot cap relatively easily, so it should be relatively sweet. Okay. We're just going to get him dead. And you see the map itself took us about 4 minutes. With better gear, this will go a heck of a lot faster. Okay. And is this it? Is this the last one? Nice. Perfect. Let's get out of here. All right. That's it. That's the build. This is how it plays. Let's talk about the POB and everything you need to know. The POB in itself is designed to hold both your hand and my hand. I don't remember all the steps to take. I've only played it through testing for the last couple of days, and there's a lot of ups and downs and things that I want to know and I want to talk about. Step one, first things first. You can actually follow along act by act. I have pretty much with the community work to make it as pretty much straightforward as possible. We're going to be taking Assassin so that we can get crit. We're going to be going right over to coordination for attack speed and stuff like that. And we're going to beeline our way right down right away to the Flask Mastery. The reason why this is important is in Act 1, we don't get Poison Concoction until level 12. Level 12 is when we really get Poison Concoction and we can really start doing things. But regular Poison Concoction, depending on the amount of throws that we do, uses more flash charges. So when we pair Poison Concoction with LMP and Volley, we get really big damage, but we really eat through our flasks. So we got to make sure that we have a way to sustain that. And that's why we go immediately for the flash charges right off the bat. When I leveled this character in early levels and early acts, I had 3 health flask, 1 mana flask until leech nodes, and then 1 movement speed flask, because you just kind of like burn through your health flask. And like I had mentioned, you really want to stay up to par and up to date on your health flask. It's going to be the most important thing. In Act 1, from what I read, we will now get shield charge at level 4. If sockets provide shield charge, faster attack, frostblink. If not, just shield charge, frostblink. We can get withering step. We can get steel skin for bleeds. And until level 12, I really love leveling spectral throw. Spectral throw is one of my favorite skills in the game. I am very comfortable with spectral throws. So any skill that you're really comfortable with, you can even like mule lancing. I think it's lancing steel, or they're one of the steel skills from duelists, and move that over and even level that. But I'm personally going to be leveling spectral throw with volley, chance to poison. And then once I get to level 12, I'm going to be swapping on over to poisonous concoction, lesser multiple projectiles, and volley. Going into Act 2, all we're really doing is adding Herald of Agony until later on. We're going to be dropping Herald of Agony really quick, but just to get started, we're going to be using it for a little bit of extra damage. And we're going to grab Blood Rage to get us some frenzy charges to help us attack quicker. Act 2, we kind of go right straight on over to poison nodes, and poison nodes deal damage, you know, faster and increase damage. Coming straight from these nodes to these nodes will give you tons, and I mean tons of damage. The minute you get this wheel, your damage is going to skyrocket. Poison Concoction is insane. It is crazy. It is really, really, really strong and is going to be awesome. Assuming you're playing this on League Start, you're probably not going to have access to Poison Concoction or bouncing right away, but regular Poison Concoction can get you into maps and start mapping, no problem. Not a big deal. Going to Act 3, we're going to be taking a little bit of precision nodes. We're going to be taking some life. The mastery for skills costs a little bit of life to ease up the mana cost. Some leech nodes over here, some index, and some more life. Pretty straightforward. Our skills aren't really going to change. We're going to keep the Herald of Agony. We're going to pick up the Spare, and we're going to pick up Haste. Haste is just going to give us a nice little quality of life moving through the campaign. If you want more resistances, Purity of Elements and Ailment Immunity from Purity of Elements will be top tier. We are going to pair Haste and Purity of Elements together a little bit later on, because as we go through the acts and get more nodes and get more levels, we're eventually going to take this new wheel here to reduce the mana cost of attacks, give us a little bit of mana reservation and charisma. Once we can pair charisma with the mana reservation, we can very, very comfortably fit in Purity of Elements and Haste, the 250% auras. We don't have to worry. We have, by the time we're in Act 4, nice resistances, ailment immunity, haste, and all the beautiful stuff that goes with it. Withering Step for damage, Blood Rage for attack speed, Steel Skin to remove bleeds, and Poison Concoction should possibly, if we find a 4-link, go into a 4-link. Unbound Elements is going to give us that nice little bit of damage to get us going. Our skills don't change until we're in Act 6, where we just continue to do the exact same thing and blast through the campaign. The only thing that we're doing in Act 6 is we're going to try to do and line up our links a little well. We want to do the shield charge with the faster attack so we move faster. We want to do the immortal call with the more duration, or the steel skin. I think we're going to stay steel skin, so we're going to update this to steel skin. We're going to change this to immortal call a little later on, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, why we're changing it to immortal call. But we're going to do the steel skin, the more duration, the haste, the purity of elements, and our Atlas tree is pretty much going to progress. In Act 4, we'll grab Assassin, and we'll take the first set of nodes for more poison chance, so they have good poison chance. Going into 5, you see right away, we come down here, we get a little bit of life nodes over here, we get a little bit of movement speed and suppression. You don't need to go over here right away and grab these nodes. I took these nodes because I wanted a little bit of extra movement speed to blitz through the campaign. The movement speed is nice. It lets you go fast. You get a little bit of life, a little bit of suppression. The suppression doesn't do a whole lot, but we get a little bit of movement speed to kind of start cruising and not really thinking. Going into Act 6, we have the entire bottom side of the tree done. We grab a little bit more damage here, a little bit of damage there, a crit node there, and we're just kind of getting ready to go. Act 7, a little bit of crit. We're starting to set up for that perfect agony swap. As soon as we can get there, our damage is going to absolutely skyrocket. Going to Act 8, we're starting to work our way up the right side of the tree. We're going to eventually get on over to Eldritch Battery, and Eldritch Battery is going to allow us to continue to cast all of our skills, stack on precision without any worries, and pretty much just give us a little bit of a comfort barrier to be able to constantly use our skills and not have to worry about mana. Going into 10, we're just going to finish up and round out some attack speed, some extra proges, pick a couple masteries, and then we're going to go into early maps. Now, when we get into early maps, there's a couple of things. You want to pick up Poison Concoction and Bouncing as fast as possible. You want to try to get a 5-link as fast as possible. I did everything at a 4-link. You see 4 links can do it. There's videos and there's tests and all kinds of stuff. But if you could pick up a 5th link, it'll help a lot. You want to have the 5th link so that you can have increased critical strikes. This is going to be really important for getting us towards that crit cap. You're also going to want to pick up Assassin's Mark on hit. This also gives us more opportunity for crit. And we're going to make sure that our tree gets filled in quite nicely for our Assassin. We're going to take Unstable Infusion as our 3rd lab. This will give us the power charges that we need. And our 2nd lab, we're going to take Opportunistic. This is lab 2. This will give us more damage against all unique and rare monsters and pretty much just kind of set us up to go. Our skills, nothing's really changed. We are going to make the swap to Immortal Call now. We're going to use Immortal Call because we're going to pair it with an anoint on our necklace called Aggressive Bastion. As you saw while I was playing now, I can take a couple of hits. It's not too bad. It's kind of okay. You don't immediately just flop over. And the reason we take that, we know we could do this, is the reason why we take Aggressive Bastion. Aggressive Bastion gives us a 10% chance to get an Endurance Charge on kill while holding a shield. We are holding a shield. We will be killing tons of mobs. This is indeed a mapping build. We should be able to get endurance charges and cap out our endurance charges for Immortal Call. So you press Immortal Call when you need it. Boom, boom, you're done. Nothing to worry about. It gives you the less damage taken, the endurance charges. Everything looks beautiful. You press it on cooldown. You feel really good about yourself. But that's early maps. That's early map skills and why we do what we do. Now, in terms of how gearing is going to go for early maps, you saw the gear that I used now to kill Searing Exarch was not good. It was bad. It was like off the floor. Like my cousin Jimmy, Johnny's sister's cousin Tony can pick up better gear and put it on. But I mean, you know, we're trying to mimic the worst possible case scenario and make sure it works. The gear in the early game section is just as bad. It's actually just the gear I was wearing. The only big difference in the gear in this section is we added Ungol's Harmony. This amulet is insane. It gives us 360% increased global critical strike chance. Our crits don't deal extra damage, which we don't care. A little bit of life, a little bit of mana, dex, and end. This is pretty much going to be a big backbone of what we're doing. This amulet should not, fingers crossed, be too expensive. It should drop plentiful. Please don't buy out the market and ruin this for me. I know you're crazy. Don't do it. But when you get this amulet, you really start to take off. Your damage starts to feel really good. You'll have a nice little amount of crit, and you can start to work your way into perfect agony. Now, as you level, as you do things, as you go through like the whole beginning of maps, you don't really have to worry about changing your gear. you'll be able to progress. I have a nice little 85 tree that pretty much goes over a couple of things. It gives you Ghost Dance, Soul Thief, a little bit extra. You get some chaining range for some more damage until you get better links and better gear. And then eventually you'll make your way into the mid game and we'll start to make that swap. We'll start to pick up better gear. We'll start to work our tree a little bit. We're like maybe level 88, 90, maybe 91, and we're trying to make that nice little swap to the perfect agony setup. If you're not there and you don't feel comfortable yet, I do have a level 90 tree for you. It does do Whispers of Doom, so you can have the 2 Anoints or the 2 Curses. It has pretty much everything that you need to do to like pretty much make your way to that swap. This is the tree that I should have been on when I killed Eater and Exarch with like actual gear. But you know, I live and I learn. When we make the swap though, and we go to the perfect agony swap, you'll see we're going to set up for a cluster, but not a whole lot changes. We click on perfect agony, we get a little spell suppression, a little life just to fit in until we get our clusters. We get some crit damage nodes, we pick up some more energy shield, and pretty much not a whole lot changes. We're going to shift around a few nodes and shift around a few points, and because gold is now a factor and we can respec with gold, it makes it really easy to make these aggressive swaps and not have to worry. If you end up worrying about respec and stuff, just go kill a couple of mobs, get some gold, buy regrets off the auction house. And if you're playing at SSF, use the vendor and sell and trade things. Our skills in the mid game are going to pretty much change. We're going to aim for that 6th link. Our 6th link is going to be a big thing. Void manipulation is going to be a big source of damage. We really want to get our 6th link. Everything else doesn't change. Immortal Call, Blood Rage, Withering Set, more duration, haste, purity of elements, precision, enlighten to clear up some mana. The enlighten you can get, you don't need it right away. You see right here, we have 21% unreserved mana. If I click this, we have 15% unreserved mana. We do have Eldritch Battery. We don't really need the enlighten, but it gives us a little bit of comfort, a little bit of breathing room, a little quality of life. It'll be something we work towards and aim for. As far as gear goes in the mid game, we're not really changing a whole lot. We're picking up a Leper Alms to just get us some more damage for increased duration of ailments. We're picking up a Lightning Coil to give us more Fizz taken as lightning. This will be really nice for defenses. We still have the Ungles, we still have the Tanuahis. We will, and it's important, note that we'll probably upgrade our boots. We'll upgrade our ring, and we'll probably have to change our belt to meet stat requirements and to fill in our resistances. Very important to note that the boots, the ring, the belt, and a couple other things are going to change when we go towards the mid game and we start putting on more uniques. More uniques means that we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, our resistances, our life, our defenses, fixing our flask. Our flasks are relatively straightforward. We're going to be using 1 to 2 life flasks. Since we're mapping, we don't need a whole lot of life flask. When we start doing like bigger things, you want to add more life flask. Like if you're going to go fight Maven, you might want 3 life flask. If you're going to go fight Elder, you might want 3 life flask. If you're fighting like Searing Exarch and Eater, you probably want 2. But if you're just straight mapping and you're cruising, you're not thinking, you really only need 1. But not that big of a deal. Coming in after the mid game, where we get this gear and we put it all together. This Paratus pack, by the way, I'm going to take a second to talk about the Paratus pack, by the way. I don't know how rare these things are going to be. If you can't get it, don't stress. If you can get it, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just don't put it in there. Put anything, put a jewel in, don't matter. But let's talk about the end game. Now that we know how to level, now we know how it's going to play, let's talk about the end game and the cluster swap. We are eventually going to swap into clusters for more damage. The clusters are going to be a very large 12% increased chaos damage cluster, Unholy Grace, Unwavering Even, Wicked Paul. If you might need resistances, that's why the resistances are there. So you might need, when you swap to like the juicer gear, you might need a little resistances here and there. I'm a little overcapped on resistances, so you might not need them, but you might need to play. You might need to get resistances on your large cluster. Just keep that in mind. The medium cluster, same thing. Chaos resistance, all resistance, basics of pain, quick getaway for nice crit damage, more damage. Same thing here, basics of pain, quick getaway, a little bit of chaos resistance if we can get it. If not, we still should be positive chaos resistance. Our small jewels here aren't really adding a whole lot. We hit dot cap relatively easily, so we don't need more damage. So we just get life and resistances, and a little bit of crit multi to just make sure we are rounded out quite nicely. overall, the build looks really good and is really strong. And I'll talk to you about how to like calculate your DPS and what to do. Now, the other thing to note is the last jewel, just resistances in life, but everything else is pretty much straightforward. I do have a Watcher's Eye in the build right now. The Watcher's Eye in the build is flash charges with critical strike while precision and crit multi-will effective by precision. The really important note here is the flash charges when you deal a crit with precision. That is the big important one. If you can only get one mod, do that. Other mods that are really good are probably like haste with onslaught. But yeah, I mean, single precision flash charge on kill is going to be really important. Otherwise, I don't know what else there is. I haven't really looked around a whole lot, but this should be like pretty much it. In terms of our gear, when we go to like the really expensive side of things, I'm adding in Aston's Gentle Touch. I want to blight. I want to do blight stuff, and I think these gloves are insane. They do exactly what I want to do. They give us explosions. They give us temp chains. They give us cool curses. They pretty much fill a lot of the holes of blighting that I want. These are probably going to be one of the things that I aim for very early. Aston's Gentle Touch with a corruption for a curse is going to be very strong. Ideally, the curse is Despair, and Feeble's also really good. There is a div card. I'm going to put a link to the name of the div card. I don't know where the div cards are going to drop in 3.25 because all the div cards are changing, but there will be a div card where we can actually farm for double corrupt pairs of Gentle Touch, and we can maybe like get like a nice attack speed one with like Despair or like Enfeeble and Despair. But you know, we have options. Now you're going to say, hey man, you've got Enfeeble and Despair and temp chains and all these things working. How are you fitting in all of your curses? Well, we're going to get this probably going to be really expensive ring. We don't care about the power charge when you gain a curse. We don't care about the cast speed. The int is really nice. All we care about is your curse limit is equal to your maximum power charges. Because we have 3 power charges, we can have 3 curses. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This allows us to skip the whole needing of Whispers of Doom. So that's pretty cool. Something else to note, Blight Ravage is going to be a thing. I'm going to do a lot of Blight Ravage. There might be a world, maybe possibly be a world where unique amulets drop with 2 anoints. I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's a world. If that's a world that exists, you might want to just keep a live search going for Ungos with anoints on them and just see what shows up, because there might be something crazy. Because we're mapping, we're going to be using Death Rush. Death Rush gives us Adrenaline. Adrenaline gives us damage and resistance, or damage and PDR. Damage and PDR, where is Adrenaline? It does something. Gives us attack damage, cast speed, attack speed, movement speed, physical damage reduction. Adrenaline's really good. I knew it did some good stuff. I couldn't remember all the good stuff they did, but I knew it did some good stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Going into the end game setup of skills, we just pick up, you know, Awaken Unbound Elements, Awaken Void Manipulation. You can go Awaken GMP. It's probably gonna be crazy expensive. I'm not doing it. I might do it. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know yet. See how I feel about it. But we're gonna try to pick up a 2120 Poison Concoction of Bouncing. Boop. Of Bouncing. I don't know why that wasn't of Bouncing. Let's fix this too while we're at it. And then check over here. Boom, baby, of Bouncing. This is going to be the bee's knees. Now, everything else relatively same. Enfeeble on the gloves, temp chains on the gloves, Blood Rage and Mortal Call, more duration, Assassin's Mark, Mock on hit, Withering Step, Despair. Sadly, we're going to be self-casting. You only really need to cast Despair on big mobs that aren't dying, like map bosses, blight bosses, simulacrum bosses, anything that just didn't immediately die. Despair's a lot of damage. Cast Despair. And then we have the Haste, Beauty of Elements, Precision, and Lighten, and this is all the same. That's really it. That's pretty much everything. If you're looking to figure out how to calculate your damage with this build, you see we have some damage numbers here. Poison Concoction of Bouncing will bounce every time it chains. So right now I have it set to 11 chains. That's because GMP gives it 4 projectiles. A volley gives it 4. That's 8. This is 9 plus 2, 10, 11. Or 9, 10. This is plus 2, that's 10. And then this is 11. 11's right here. 11's right there. So we set this to 11. We click include in full DPS, and then we gotta go over to the calculations. We have enemies at close range. We do indeed have enemies at close range. We are mapping. That matters for the attack mastery. The attack mastery says increase attack speed per enemy in close range. That matters. Is the enemy cursed? You will either curse them with your gloves, you will cast Despair, you will curse them, or you will Assassin's Mark and they will be cursed. The enemy will indeed be poisoned. There will be enemies that you will get 20 stacks of poison very easily. You throw one poison concoction, it bounces a whole lot of times. You throw a whole lot of them, it bounces a whole lot of times. It's very easy to get to 20, and wither stacks are going to be very easy as well. And if you say, how are we withering? Well, there's a 20% chance to inflict wither for 2 seconds here, plus withering step will give you a lot of wither. You should, in theory, be able to hit wither cap. We have power charges, we are assassin, we have frenzy charges, we have blood rage, we have endurance charges because we are mapping. We can actually unclick endurance charges. It will not change our DPS. It will, though, change and upgrade our effective hit pool, but we are a mapping build. We have adrenaline. Adrenaline is because we are a mapping build and we will be mapping and killing mobs, or we will be blighting and killing mobs, but you can easily unclick this and you can unclick endurance charges. We should have multiple nearby enemies because we are mapping. If there is only one nearby enemy, or you want to see what it looks like when only a boss is around, change this to 1. We will always have a rare unique enemy. That will be our bosses, and we will always have applied at least 20 poisons, and there will be a guardian boss nearby. That's it. That's the DPS. That's the basic, simplest way to do it and to put it on. But if you want to check all the other cool stuff, you just kind of, click on endurance charges, enemies nearby, number of unique enemies, put this to 5. We have killed recently. You don't have to say you killed recently. Is the enemy poison? Is the enemy cursed? If you shut off curses and you don't have despair, you'll lose a lot of damage. Now, poison concoction of bouncing will look like it'll do less damage than poison concoction. Poison concoction will say it does more damage. Poison concoction of bouncing will say it does less damage. This is fine. This bounces around. This hits everything. This is damage with no flask, by the way. So if you have no flash charges, this is the damage that you do. And if you have flash charges, this is the damage that you do. This is why it's important to make sure your flask does not suck. I always love doing that. Oh, I guess I'm out of flask. Oh, I guess I have some flask. Your damage too, going from 20 to 21, will upgrade your damage by 1,000,000. So it's kind of worth it. The reason why flasks are so important and the reason why we're playing Pathfinder is a couple of reasons. One, we're always going to crit, and we're always going to be crit. We're 100% crit chance. This gives us flash charges from this, which is going to be really, really, really nice. We are going to get this to always gain flash charges from critting, which is also going to be really, really nice. We're going to gain flash charges from this. We're going to gain flash charges from this. We're going to gain flash charges from everything. Everything we do is going to give us flash charges because we are playing a really cool build. Our flask. Let's talk flask. Flask are going to be really important. You are going to want a divine life flask. You are going to want to try to get this thing to 30%. It's going to fall off the ground. You have to pick up flask and look for 30 divine or 30 quality flask. You have to. It's the only thing we can do. We are going to try to increase the amount of recovery to the moon, straight to the moon. So we want to make sure that the higher the life total is on our flask, the more damage that we do. If you can't get a 30% quality flask, 20 will be fine. You can corrupt your flask to 30. I think that's how we do it. I think we get a 20% flask and then we corrupt it, and that's how it goes to 30. I don't know if it drops on the ground. I assume it drops on the ground, or they changed it because it used to go to 40, but I think they drop on the ground. So just, if they don't, corrupt your flask. Literally corrupt your flask, get it to 30. It has to get there. You want the 5,000 life. You absolutely want it. We have a topaz flask to get us to that nice, beautiful 80% resistance and to give us extra resistances. Charge recovery rate is going to be really good. These flasks have a lot of charges. They last forever. They are quite lovely and very strong. Same thing with the Sapphire flask. Reduced effective curses, so we can't be cursed, or we have less curse effect. Charge recovery as well. Ruby flask, charge recovery, increased attack speed. And then lastly, we have a Quicksilver flask with movement speed and movement speed. This is a really interesting flex spot. I think there's a world where you can make this a phasing flask if you're doing like simulacrums or something. You could also probably make this an onslaught flask. We do have shield charge. Shield charge makes it so that we don't absolutely positively need a Quicksilver flask. Shield charge is really nice. Shield charge plus Frostblank is really nice. But, a Quicksilver flask is also nice. I do plan on experimenting with an onslaught flask, and I do plan on experimenting with a phasing flask to see kind of like what I'm doing. You can always change your belt too off of a heavy belt to a Stygian Vice, and then figure out how you're going to do the strength and like figure out some strength and maybe get some of these and change these up for some strength and get phasing on kill. But overall, that is relatively the build. There's not a whole lot. I really didn't add a lot of notes other than thank you guys and disclaimer. This is just what I'm doing. Proceed with caution. That's really it, man. The build is pretty straightforward. It's pretty good. It's really strong. I don't know how long I'll play it. I don't even know if I'll make it to... I'll probably actually make it to here. I really like this build. I did a lot. I thought it was really cool, but I'll at least make it to here and kind of make some changes and adjustments. If I change anything, if I adjust anything, if I make any weird changes, I will update you on a new video. I will update you on the Twitch. I will update you on the YouTube. So keep that in mind and keep checking back. But yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't mind, helping you guys out or figuring out, or if I don't know, I'll ask somebody else might know. But yeah, I mean, overall, the damage in itself looks relatively good. Just make sure you have the right kind of gear on, make sure you have the right end game stuff on, and you should, if everything goes well, you should cruise, man. I don't know. Where's adrenaline? Click. Dude, adrenaline's so dumb. Adrenaline is so dumb. I mean, it's definitely bait to click this stuff if you're ever thinking about bossing. It's not a bossing build. Don't do bossing stuff with it. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it. I'm just gonna unclick this and unclick this so I don't get yelled at. Looks good. All right. For now, friends, I'm gonna get this video out to you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. But good luck on your league start. I hope you guys get many a divines and see what happens. Let me know. All right, I'm out of here. So long. Have a good night. Bye, friends.
This is not a battle you can win, Hatchling. Riding path. Succumb. Riding path.
All right, we're gonna do the incandescent invitation with the exact same setup and gear that the Eater fight had.
Your absurd defiance ends here, hatchling. Annihilation. Incineration. Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation. The fires of thousand suns. You do not have the strength, hatchling.
That may be, but I am not alone.
How pathetic. Incineration. Disintegration. Cleansing. The fires of a thousand suns.
Dang it. Dang it. I was so close. Teabag?
Incineration. Annihilation. Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation. Incineration. Disintegration. Cleansing. Annihilation.
Do not ball face.
Annihilation. Incineration.
Okay.
The fires
Oh my god. No. What is this?
Is that all you have?
Oh god.
Disintegration. Cleansing. Incineration.
Greed, 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 greed.
Annihilation.
Easy. Nice. There we go. And we got a shield. Let's go, dude. Perfect. Nice.